Ladies and gentlemen, I want to regard you and say welcome to my presentation, in which I want and plan to show you our findings, how COVID-19 affected and make influence on teaching process for children with disabilities in Montenegro. My name is Tamara Milic. Basically, I'm a psychologist, and now I'm working because my, professional development are oriented to the master and PhD in inclusive education and with special focus on individualized approaches and different, contemporary strategies in working with those children in a way to improve inclusive teaching competencies. However, on this first slide, I just wanted to show you how in geographical way Montenegro looks like. So there is a lot of mountains, there is a coast, and also very soon I will give you a brief explanation and a picture about Montenegro, because I suppose it will be interesting and important for our future presentation. However, this presentation consists of, as I said, brief and short overview of Montenegro. Then I will give you introduction in our research. I will show you and offer to you our methodology. Then I will present our findings and share with you our conclusions and recommendations for the future work with children's special education needs in Montenegro. And I hope that also you can find it interesting and useful for your practice. As I said, at first I just want to show you where Montenegro is. It is in Southeast Europe. As you can see, it is a very small country, but with a lot of nature beauties. And in the next slide, I will show you a few pictures that I believe showing how Montenegro got a nickname by beauty. However, Montenegro is a republic, Podgorica is capital, and in Montenegro lives 629 citizens. There are data from census 2011. From my point of view, it was important to show you how big or small Montenegro is, and how many inhabitants are in Montenegro. As I promised, I will share with you a few interesting and pictures that show, as I said, Montenegrin nickname by beauty. Now I will share with you a brief overview of educational system in Montenegro. It consists of preschool, elementary school, the secondary school level. Also, there are universities, but for our presentation, it was I find that these three levels are interesting for you. However, preschool education covers children up to the elementary schools to the age of 6. After that, children started to be involved in 9-year compulsory and free of charge elementary schools, divided into the 3 cycles. That 3 cycles are completely connected with developmental characteristics of children. So children from 6 to 15 are in compulsory and free of charge elementary education. After that, children goes to the secondary education, gymnasium or vocational schools that mostly prepare them for the independent life or future tertiary education. Inclusive education in Montenegro is imperative. It is a first choice, and children with special education needs, learning based on the individual education plan. So that means that in individual education plans, we put outcomes that we want to achieve regarding not only academic results, because developmental results are preferable. Also, as a part of individual education plan, we have also individual transition plan to helping children, teachers, and their parents on the level 1 to make a good choice of secondary school. Then after the secondary school, to find a job, or as a third level, to how to say, make a good and clever and the best decision regarding faculty. In Montenegro, as I said, we have preschool education, elementary education, and secondary education. And as in preschools, we have 21 public and 31 private preschool or kindergarten. There are 163 public elementary schools and 4 private. In secondary education, there are 47 public and 1 private gymnasium. Also, in this graphic, you can see that in preschools, we have around 23,000 children. In elementary education, compulsory, there are 67,000, something like 67,000 pupils. And in secondary education, there are something around 31,000 pupils. In preschools, with children works something like 1,300 preschool teachers. In elementary school, around 500 elementary school teachers, classroom and subject teachers. And in secondary education, in secondary schools are employed around 2,600 teachers. All of us, how to say, experience this COVID pandemic situation. And to be honest, all of us were very affected, because it's completely changed our way of living, way of working, way of thinking, and way how we deal with different emotional issues, behavior issues, etc. Especially COVID-19 put inclusive values and inclusive approaches to the test. How to recognize and how to respond and how to overcome challenges in education and integration and participation of children with special education needs. Because in regular circumstances, through the inclusive education, teachers, kindergartens and preschools adjust their way in working with children with special education needs, with some flexible approaches, adaptation, structured strategies, and different technologies. As I mentioned, based on the individual education plan. In Montenegro, in last period, we prefer to use assistive technology and augmentative communication, because assistive technology, as a set of instruments, aids and devices, allow and how to say, make a very stimulative environment for children with special education needs to highlight and develop their potentials and to become, how to say, equal with their peers. Augmentative communication, helping children with special education needs to share their feelings, to share their emotions, to share their thoughts with some other person in a way that, how to say, not have focus on verbal or speech communication. Briefly, I want to show you which kind of approaches and recommendations we are using in working in inclusive education with children with different disabilities. When we are talking about children with intellectual disabilities, we prefer simple, concrete, and obvious means. For children with autism, we prefer structures, the assistive and augmentative communication, that visual approaches, because we know now that children with autism see in pictures, so we prefer to organize for them some, how to say, visual schedules, structures, and etc. For hearing impairments, we prefer also visual and written means, and for the visual, there are tactile and highlighted means. In COVID situation, we decide to, as much as it is possible, make individualized approach for the children with special education needs. So teachers adjusted and prepared individualized material in accordance with individual education plan, and makes them available in a way that they make arrangement or make some kind of degree with child and parents. At the beginning of first cycle, let's say, of COVID crisis, we prepare a lot of material for children with special education needs, their teachers, their parents, in a way to help them to understand the situation and organize a new way of living in this, how to say, completely new circumstances. So here you can see one example of social stories, what is COVID-19 and how it looks like in everyday life. Also, all materials are available on school portal for inclusive education, and we decide to make easier for teachers to get some idea how to adjust and how to individualize the work with children with special education needs. After that, we also have a lot of communication with our teachers, our colleagues, professional associates in schools, and we decide to make some kind of mini research. And we wanted to assess impact and consequences on children with special education needs due to the progress or regression, and to find areas in which we should make more efforts in the future period. So we assume that isolation affected the quality of knowledge and everyday competencies of students. As instruments are used assessment protocol. At first it was piloted, and after that we make some minor changes and improvements. So we wanted to find which strategies and approaches used. Developmental progress and regression in emotions, behavior, interaction, communication, quality of knowledge. Then academic progress and regression in Montenegrin language, in math, English skills, and sciences, and to find future areas and how to say, ideas for working with children with special education needs. Our general findings are that these mini research were conducted among 43 children. Mostly they are with intellectual disabilities and autism. Also, mostly they are from the second, third, and seventh and eighth grades, and the least from first and ninth grades. Why? Because in first grade, children are still in some kind of observation phase, in which they are still, how to say, develop some social skills. But for the students in ninth, as final grade of elementary schools, we already started this transition to the secondary schools. Findings regarding way of communication shows that platforms and applications were the last used, and mostly teachers communicate via Viber. Then individualized, very concise, adapted, adjusted, and visually adequate materials is predominantly prepared. The less teachers use Braille materials and DAISY. We are not happy with this because our opinion was there that DAISY is very recommended for various and the widest range of disabilities and difficulties, intellectual, then visual originally, dyslexia, dysgraphia, attention deficit, etc. Then findings regarding developmental programs shows that there is some kind of emotional achievement in a large extent in 49% and in 37% in a small extent. Then progress in behavior are found in 55%, in interaction and communication in a large scale in 41%. The quality of knowledge is assessed as high by 41%. But application is small, and that is assessment in 51%. Then findings regarding developmental regression shows that in 61% teachers do not find any kind of emotional damages. In terms of behavior, they estimated that it depends on individual cases, especially on disabilities. So we expected that they are afraid that some kind of behavior problems we would find at children with autism. Regarding interaction, regression was observed in 29%, slightly expressed. In 41%. Quality of knowledge slightly impaired in 46%, not at all in 21%. The greatest regression is practicing and application of knowledge. Because we expected and connect that with the fact that children were in some kind of isolation and spent a lot of time at home, not in home environment that really suspends practical and everyday experience. Regarding academic achievement, we find that children make achievement in Montenegrin language and in math. In English language, progress is small in 51%. Skills are small, achieved in 46%. Natural sciences achieved in 46% and social sciences in 41%. Our expectation, I will share with you after the findings regarding academic regression. Why? Because we find that skills, practical skills and practical competencies are potential areas for the future support. Also, teaching finds some kind of regression in the area of math. And we see the reasons because these are areas that require direct work, in vivo experience, demonstrations, to make connections with everyday life, especially with child experience, very instructive and concrete approach. But children do not have this opportunity during the COVID-19. Then, regarding findings to the future work, we find that teaching one by one, teaching should be fully in almost 22%. Also, individualization. Then, practical application, we really need to highlight and put focus on this, how to say, practicing in the future. Socializations also depends on the types of degree and disability, but however, we really expected that for the children with special education needs in the future, we really need to organize more peer activities. Also, communication and behavior high need to additional works. Also, teachers find and teachers recommended treatments in a way to help children with support of school or some additional psychologist or speech therapist or special educators also. Regarding recommended strategies, we find that teachers prefer adjusted material, structures and schedules, visual approaches, but teachers do not assess that braille material are so important and recommended, but we also find that teachers really, how to say, show high level of knowledge and competencies and recognizing of approaches in a way to meet needs of their children. Unfortunately, they less assumed DAISY textbooks, and maybe I can immediately how to say, share with you that this is an area in which on the policy level, in a way to promote, we need to put more focus. Finally, our conclusions are related to that the teachers decide to work and communicate via Viber. They do not prefer this kind of platforms such as Zoom or Blue Jeans or Microsoft Teams or Google Classroom, because this kind of one-to-one communication based on the phone and Viber are more recommended for child, and that have influence of emotional status of children. Also, teachers shows, as I already said, a high level of knowledge and competencies about child characteristic and preferable approaches. Also, emotional status of children with special education needs was relatively maintained thanks to the more direct and individualized relationships. Because they make, how to say, some kind of attachment with their parents, but also they feels that teacher are his, how to say, private teacher, or how to say, one-to-one teacher. So, however, there are a better communication and connection with their teachers. Also, in an area of behavior, there is a significant percent of students that need support in the future. Also, when we are talking about interaction and communication, they are also connected with this emotional attachment and individualized teacher orientation. But also for the future, we need to support children with some kind of regressions. When we are talking about the mostly affected area, that is the area of the practice and applying of skills and knowledge, because the teaching process dominantly took place at home, not in structured school environment. So this is the area in which we need to organize very, very concrete measures and actions. Also, academics area that have the highest achievement are Montenegrin language and math, because, to be honest, in our population, these are core subjects. After the school beginning, individualization should be maintained, catch-up activities, in a way to improve and, how to say, overcome some gaps in knowledge and skills. And finally, we really need to make more efforts to promote these assistive technologies, augmentative communication, DAISY textbooks. Finally, all of these evidences we already used, and we organized before the school year beginning coaching process. We, how to say, visited and coached teachers in more than 50 schools, in which we have the biggest number of children with special education needs. And we were prepared them to individualize material, to assess at the beginning in which, how to say, current position are children regarding emotions, behavior, academic need, and to organize individual education plan and approach related to that. Also, we prepared different individualized materials and also social stories, because we find that social stories are very useful, especially in these, how to say, strange situations, because they offer very how to say, concrete step-by-step behavior, especially if it is visual supported, and to explain what the child can expect it in different, still challenging situation. Thanks a lot, and again, regards from Montenegro.